Our film begins with the factory workers protesting because their salary is small, and a clash occurs between the factory workers and the guards, and the two keep hitting each other until the factory manager speaks into the mic and allows two of his workers to come in to say their demands, on the condition that the rest go home and stop the protest. And we see one among the workers, his name is Rio, and he volunteers that he is the one who enters the manager's house, but the manager refuses to let Rio in, so two of Rio's friends enter, and the rest go to their homes. They were being bullied in this place and decided to talk, and Rio asks his son, Sancaka, that he never silence any man he is exposed to, whatever it is, and we go to the second day and he wakes up Sancaka from his sleep, and he finds his father back to the factory again to protest with the rest of the workers, and this is because they knew that the workers who entered the manager yesterday did not go home until now, and Rio's wife takes her son Sancaka and they go to visit the wives of these workers and check on them. There, Rio's wife sees a worker who is in his house, contrary to what they thought, and she understands that this is a plot by the factory owner to get her husband, Rio, to sign, and this is because he knows that Rio is the one who encouraged the workers to protest and not be silent about the injustice. Rio's wife runs to the factory to catch up with her husband and tell him what's going on, but on the track, she falls and gets hit in the leg, so she asks Sancaka, her son, to go to his father and explain to him what is happening. As soon as he arrives at the factory, he finds that his father, Rio, has been killed, and the child keeps crying on his father, and Asa what? He is crying. Suddenly it rains. Sancaka touches a wave of lightning, falls to the ground, loses consciousness, and gets close to the workers to check on Sancaka. But they electrocute and fall to the ground. A year has passed since Rio's death, and Sancaka is living with his mother alone, and the mother tells Sancaka that she is going to travel tomorrow because she has a job, and she must go because of the debts that remain on them, and that she won't be late for him and will come back the second day along. And she promised him that he would come back from school and find her at home, and passing today. And Sancaka goes to his house, and he discovers that his mother hasn't returned yet. And he keeps waiting for it all day, but it doesn't come. Sancaka thinks that he is in need and that she will surely return to him as soon as possible. Days pass, and all the food in the house is finished, and his mother's satisfaction is not coming back. And one day he knocks on the door and goes to Sancaka to open it, but he finds out she is the wife of the worker who was the cause of his father's death. She knows what happened to Sancaka and comes to give him food. Vibrami Sancaka eating in her face. And he locks the door and keeps crying. And one day Sancaka gets out of his house, and he sees a group of boys fighting a girl on the street. He fights with them, but they are thugs and keep running after him until they catch him and beat him. And Sancaka is weak and does not defend himself, until he sees them, a boy named Ong, and he goes to help Sancaka and beats the rest of the boys. Sancaka loses consciousness due to the many beatings he was subjected to, and when he gets up, he takes him home. Sancaka thanks him, but Ong tells him that he will not be able to take responsibility for anyone else, and Sancaka decides from that day that he will not help anyone, even if they need help, because of what happened to him when he helped the girl. Ong offers to teach Sancaka martial arts, because he doesn't need someone to defend him after that. Sancaka agrees. As soon as he learns, they become very good friends. Ong says that there is a cat that attacks their village once a year, and that it will be the second day, and this would be the means for him to get out of the village. This is because he was bored of the place and could no longer live in it. He asks him to take him with him, and Awang agrees and goes to the time of Qatar, and they would have to ride it. And the train is walking because it does not stop with them, and Awangwa succeeds in riding the country, unlike the one who can't catch up, and he remains imprisoned in this village. Ong loses his only friend, and he goes back to his house and starts working on anything he finds in front of him so that he can spend on himself. And one day, while Asaa was collecting complaints, the same gang that had beaten him before came to him, but Sancaka gets scared when he finds a large group of them, so he runs to hide. Who are they? And an Arab stands with a woman and a man, who can see the children running after Sancaka, so they ride him with them to escape him. Even though they are not in Arabic, the woman knows that Sancaka lives alone. And you offer him that they adopt him, But Sancaka opens the door to the car and runs away. And this is because he still has hope that his mother will return to him, and Sancaka grows up and becomes a young man, and he works as a repair technician in the newspaper factory. And in another place, we see a party for members of parliament and their president is one named Pengkor, and he will be known for his bad reputation and corruption in his work and in his life from the days when he was a young man, and we know that Pengkor, when he was a child, framed his father for an accusation, and people attacked the house of Pengkor and fell in love with it. This is why Pengkor's right body text is distorted. The Pengkor family dies, and he is raised in an orphanage, and there will be a corrupt group like him, and they kill their supervisors are in the shelter to escape, and from then on, the evil of Pengkor began to appear to the world, and we go back to the party and enter the youngest member of parliament, and the one whose name is Utama, and beige Pengkor to greet him, but Utama refuses to greet him because of his bad reputation and embarrasses Pengkor. After the party, Utama goes to the hotel with his family. There, he is met by a magician from Pengkor's men who puts Utama into hypnosis. He overtakes Utama and finds himself tied up, and in front of him, he sees Pengkor, who wants revenge on him, because he refused to greet him, and he would also bring Utama's wife and children in their bond and hanger to kill them in front of his eyes. Utama tries to save his family, but Pengkor throws them from above. Utama is behind them and he is trying to save them, and the whole family dies, and we go back to Sancaka. The one among them knows that there are two men on his neighbor, and who will be her name, and he will decide. This time, he must intervene and help, so he goes to Sancaka, and he can hit the two of them, and Holan thanks him for saving her, and he walks and leaves her, and after a while, he meets Sancaka to a gang again, and she keeps chasing him until he falls from a building, and the rain is heavy, and a lightning wave catches Sancaka's body again, and he loses consciousness, and when he wakes up, he does not feel with any pain. He goes to his house, and the next day she leaves him and her little brother at Sancaka's, and she asks him to take care of the child until she comes back from work, but Sancaka is late for his work and he doesn't know with the child. They take a job with Wan's sister, who works in a vegetable market. There, Sancaka meets the gang again. While Asuna is fighting with them, he discovers that he still has the ability to stun anyone by means of waves that he removes from his hand, and he kills the gang, and he rejoices because for the first time he feels the lightning that he was exposed to. He has any need, and Sancaka knows that he has a superpower that he can use whenever he wants. And she goes to her and says that the same gang that expelled him is chasing them. They are also at work in the market and want to rob them. She asks Sancaka to help her, but he tells her that he is not sure if he will be able to defeat them or not, but then he learns that the gang broke out in the market and that all the people there lost their jobs, and he feels guilt because he was in his hand to make them happy, and he was the one who refused, and he decides to take revenge on this gang, and he begins to take advantage of any incoming lightning wave and go and stand under it to touch it and charge energy again, after he lived his whole life afraid of rain and lightning, and he lets Sancaka, Woolin and his little brother help him and choose clothes to fight the gang with, and the men of the market go to a place where the gang is gathered to try to understand first and discover that they are. One of the gang is already present in Farah, and he kills a group of them. But he discovers that their number is much greater than what he imagined, and he also knows that they are all acting on orders from the Speaker of Parliament, and after a while, a surprise happens, which is that all the pregnant women who are in the city bloom on them strange fatigue captives, and the state prefers a period of investigation into what is happening, until they discover that someone put a certain substance in the annual rice crop, and they do not know that this person is denying himself, and that this substance is a liquid that reaches the brain of the pregnant woman, and then it captures the criterion of good and bad in the brain of children. Thus, Pengkor will ensure that all the new generation will think like him and have the same evil tendencies. And the government will hear of Sancaka's miraculous powers after all the channels are talking about the good he is doing in the country. Festivals are held in the country after the people are informed of what happened. Then he goes to Sancaka and kills one of Pengkor's men. When Pengkor learns what happened, he begins to collect the rest of his group that was with him in the shelter a long time ago, and who currently each one of them stayed in a different place, and this is because he still wants them to help him who is entering it, and the number of his paralysis is in the thousands, and Pengkor agrees with them that they kill all those in Parliament, and disagree with him in his policy, and every member of the Pengkor gang begins to kill a man from Parliament, and they succeeded in killing a large number of them, but on the last of Hazza Binks, one of the men of Parliament, and the one whose name is Radwin, and Radwin tells him that the whole country needs him now, after they knew that Pengkor was the one who put this material, and they ask Radwin about his name. He responds to him and tells him that he is just an ordinary one of the people, and with time, he discovers the use of his power. That if he destroys something in his hand, any other thing made of the same material will be destroyed with him at the same time, and a quarrel arises between the people because the amount of vaccines that the government made to treat women from the ingestion of the chemical that was administered to them is small and will not be enough for all women, so the women fight with each other, and each one wants to guarantee herself the right to the serum. The government is looking forward to a statement that it is taking care of the vaccine for all those affected. The women rejoice and stand in line to take the serum, and one day she admits that she used to work as a nurse in the city before she came to this village, and she knew his mother. Sancaka is shocked when he learns that his mother did not want to work as she told him. But she had a serious illness, and he also knows Sancaka, whether or not it was his mother's nurse, and that his mother, one day, returned to the house in which they lived. But he wasn't there at the time, so she turned around on him every moment, and she tells him that since that day she doesn't know anything about her. Sancaka decides to travel and look for his mother. At the same time, Radwin knows that Pengkor was making another plan. It is that he played in the serum distributed by the state. There is another article that will make children get congenital deformities, and Radwin calls Sancaka and follows him before he travels, and asks him to reach Pengkor because he is the only one who can stop the distribution of the serum. But at the same moment Sancaka is surprised that Pengkor is the one who is coming to him, and he will have many men with him, and Pengkor and his men start attacking Sancaka, and Sancaka tries to use his power, but he thinks that many groceries are not exposed to lightning, and therefore his power will not work, and he tries to use his normal energy and that he hits Sancaka's men, but one of them succeeds in wounding him in the leg, and goes to Pengkor and his men, and first shoulders him, her brother, and the factory worker who was helping Sancaka kill the gang. But suddenly it rains and there is lightning, and Sancaka succeeds in charging his strength again, and he beats all the remaining men, and then pings in her brother, and stabs Pengkor in the stomach. At the same time, Radwin arrives with them. He asks Radwin and Sancaka to deny the reason why he did this. He answered them that he wanted all the children of the city when they were born and grew up a little. They start killing each other to make them look like they were children. He does not feel that he is the only child who kills anyone who annoys him. Radwin is with the owners of the cars that distribute the serum and orders them to stop everything and not to touch any woman with the serum, and he goes to Sancaka to make sure that there is nothing. Take the serum. On the way, he meets an Arab who has a load of serum. An idea comes to him, which is that he grabs one of the serums in Arabia and destroys it using his supernatural ability. Therefore, all serums that were made with the same formula as this serum will be destroyed at the same time. And Sancaka's plan succeeds, and that's how he keeps all the ladies of his city. Save the children of the next generation from the serum that would destroy them and destroy their humanity. And he doesn't have any goal in his life except to reach his mother. And don't forget to subscribe to the Ladybug Synopsis channel.